Today I want to give you the best chance possible of going through your reverse diet process without gaining any weight, but I also think it's important to stress that I can never guarantee you won't gain any weight. But regardless, if you follow these steps, at the very least, it's going to help you minimize fat gain as much as possible. And honestly, it is easier than you probably think, at least when it comes to the physical of what to do. The hard part is the mental side of things. Of course, we're going to talk about both. So if I had to sum up in just 2 words what you needed to do, it's stay diligent. This is easily where most people go wrong, and this is why I say the mental stuff matters so much. Because you have to understand, during this part of the process, you're not going to see any real physical result, and we as humans just love physical progress. So even if you cut down, get all the way where you want to be, a lot of people struggle here because now the motivation is lacking to stay on top of things. But a lot of people are shocked with how hungry they are at the start of the reverse diet, especially the first few weeks. Honestly, it's usually even worse during this part of the process than it is during the cut. And if you're not expecting this, it can really play mind games with you. So understand, especially if it's early in the process and you're finding yourself extra hungry, this is normal. But if you want to keep from gaining weight, you need to stick to your plan and take your time bringing calories up, and basically view your reverse diet process as like an extension of the cutting phase, and you'll want to take it slow. I'm going to talk in a little bit about how fast you should increase calories, but basically it comes down to the slower you increase your calories, the less likely you are to gain, but also understand that means it's going to take longer to get a lot of the benefits as well, so there's always trade-off. But before I get into all that detail, I really want to stress about the weight side of things. Remember, weight and fat is not always the same thing, and especially if you've been in a calorie deficit, your carbs have been low, when you start bringing those back up, it's very normal to see some weight gain and even look better because now your muscles are filling back up with glycogen and water. So your first couple pounds are probably not even going to be body fat anyways, and understand fluctuations in weight are normal. Not only just daily, which if you're just taking a weekly weigh-in or something like that, not very ideal because you could be up or down several pounds on that day and not even realize it. So if you're comparing one day the previous week to one day the following week and there's a huge spike, it may make you feel like you gained 2, 3, 4 pounds, but on an average, it could be the same or even down. So you want to make sure you're weighing yourself daily, first thing in the morning, after going to the bathroom and before eating or drinking anything, and then taking an average for the week and going by that. But also understand there's still going to be fluctuations even in your weekly averages, and sometimes you're going to see it come up for a little bit, come back down for a little bit. So it's always about looking at a long-term big picture, and when it comes to weight maintenance, is more of a range of weight and not an exact weight. Also keep in mind, this is not something you should expect, but it's not abnormal for people to actually continue to lose weight when they first start the reverse diet, especially if you're taking it slower. You may keep yourself in a little bit of a calorie deficit. Sometimes the metabolism just starts ramping up, you get more energy, you feel better, you move around more, and you see the weight coming down. And you want to make sure you're comparing future weight gain to where you were when you stopped the cut, not whatever your lowest weight is. This is something I see in clients all the time. They start the reverse, maybe they were 140 pounds, things go really well at first, and all of a sudden they're down to 135, 136 pounds, and then a few months pass and they're back up to 140 pounds and they're freaking out about this weight gain. Well, you didn't really gain weight from the reverse. You actually lost weight and then gained back to where you were to begin with. It's just such a trap to make your lowest weight the standard. There's too many reasons for weight to fluctuate, and this is something I obviously try to help with them. And actually, speaking of diligence to the plan, there's no better way to stay diligent than having the accountability that comes with having a coach, someone who can guide you through the process and keep you out of your own head. So if this is something you think could be useful for you, fill out an application for online coaching. There's a link in the description. All right, all that out of the way, let's talk about how fast to increase your calories. But keep in mind, when I say an increase in calories, I'm talking about the average for the week. So let's just say I say bump up your daily calories by 30 calories. That doesn't mean every single day you bump them up 30 calories. It means if you're averaging 1,500 calories per day for the week, now the next week would be an average of 1,530 every day, but it doesn't have to be every day. You can have some ups and downs. You don't have to even do it daily. Instead of adding 30 calories every day, you could add 210 calories to one day of the week. No matter what, the average for the week is what matters most, and this just allows for so much more flexibility and freedom with your diet rather than feeling like you need to stay perfectly on top of it every day. Not only is that level of perfectionism not necessary, but it's just not really even realistic, especially considering you don't want to gain any weight. Doing something like that is going to be a lot better strategy than some form of cheat meal where you just have it completely unaccounted for and you don't really know. So when it comes to knowing how fast to increase, again, remember, you're going to take a weekly average. So weigh yourself every day, take the average, and then you're going to compare that average the following week. But you're not only going to look at weight. Weight is just one tool in the tool belt. So make sure you're taking pictures from the front, back, and side. Make sure you're taking measurements and comparing these things. And I don't just mean taking them and just kind of like assuming. I mean literally looking at them side by side. This is so important because you may find that your weight may be staying relatively the same or even going up, but you might look the same or even better as you possibly get some recomp. So again, don't get too caught up in weight, the scale number. We're looking to control body fat, not a number. So if you're roughly maintaining your weight, especially early in the process, you should probably keep increasing calories, maybe around 20 to 40 calories. But if it's later in the process and you're feeling really good and you don't feel like you need more calories, if you want to just give it another week and ride out those calories to give your body some more time to adapt before making the next increase, you can. So really anywhere between keeping it the same and up to about 40 calories. Now, if you're losing weight, this means you're still in a deficit and it's going to be safer to increase your calories faster. So in that case, usually I'd recommend around maybe a 40 to 60 calorie increase. You can go more, especially if you're losing quicker. There's always that trade-off for the pros and cons. The faster you increase, the more likely you are to gain. But in this situation, things are going really well, so it's a much safer increase. You can take it slower if you want. If it's more important to you to stay as steady as possible, be patient, take your time, and you may even find you continue to lose for a while and create some wiggle room in your maintenance. Now, if you're gaining weight, now you don't want to increase calories. So just keep things the same for a week. Don't reduce your calories, at least not until way later in the process when you may be getting up to your kind of like baseline maintenance calories for what your metabolism should be. Because at a certain point, you're going to hit that threshold and then you can dial it back a little bit to try to maintain. Now, don't go anywhere yet because while I've given you the calories you need to consider, there's one more thing you need to consider with your nutrition side of things, and you also have to factor in activity's role in the process. So before I get into the activity, another part of making sure you stay diligent and give yourself the best chance possible not to gain is staying diligent with the measuring of your food. At least at a minimum, measuring the higher calorie foods on a food scale using grams, making sure you're not allowing for a lot of extra bites and nibbles and taste and things that you're not accounting for. And again, this doesn't mean being perfect and it doesn't mean you can't go out to eat and have fun. Just certainly estimate the best you can, but don't fall into the YOLO mentality. And keep in mind, protein is the safest increase between its high thermic effect of food and all the benefits I talk about in almost every video I ever do. So I'm not going to do it in this video, but increasing your protein, especially if it's not quite up to that around maybe 0.8 to 1 gram per pound or at least lean body mass, this is going to be your safest increase as it's damn near impossible to store protein as body fat. Now, you don't want to just only do protein. Once you get to a point where it's in a good spot, then you can start going through your other macronutrients. I don't typically care whether it's carbs or fat. It's kind of up to you. But if you're looking to increase calories and maintain your weight, protein is the easiest way to do that. So for the activity side of things, it always kind of depends. And in this video, I'm pretty much for the most part talking about people who went through their cutting phase, now they're reverse dieting out, and just looking to roughly maintain, not necessarily looking to do a future cut. If you're doing a future cut, it doesn't mean these things aren't completely relevant, but you need to be a little bit more okay with some weight gain for the greater good. You're going to want to work your activity down more and calories maybe a little bit higher, so you have room to make adjustments when it's time to start your cut. But if you're just looking to live a healthy, active lifestyle and kind of roughly maintain your weight, then you don't necessarily have to bring your activity down as much. No matter what, you always want to keep your strength training up. Your strength training should basically stay the same, whether you're cutting, building, maintaining. It's the nutrition and your cardio that we typically change. Weight training is the most overlooked, biggest benefit there is during a reverse diet because now you're going to utilize these extra calories for better strength and performance to build some muscle. Again, it's why you can't stress out about weight, because if you build muscle, muscle isn't free weight, it's weight to your frame, but that's not body fat. And honestly, this basically goes double if you are trying to cut again in the future. Utilize this time well. Don't make the mistakes so many people make and not utilize training. And then once it's time to cut again, now I start getting serious. You just missed out on all those potential benefits. And I say it all the time, it's what you do when you're not dieting that makes the biggest difference in your long-term success, even more so than what you do do when you are dieting. But you can keep your activity through things like steps and cardio higher if you want to just maintain and stay healthy, and it's going to help you get your calories up more. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. If you're doing more cardio than you want to do, you can taper that down while bringing calories up. But in some scenarios, especially if you're not doing a lot of cardio, you can even increase your activity, especially through steps more, to help with the maintenance side of things, as long as you're not overdoing it and you're feeling good. Which, speaking of cutting in the future, if this is something that you're going to be doing, one thing that's really important to know is when you're in an okay position to start your cut, because if you do it too early, your body's not going to respond. You're going to undo all that hard work. So you want to be patient with things and make sure you're in a good position to do so. So to make sure you do know, check out this top video where I explain how to know when you're ready to cut. Otherwise, I think you'll like this bottom video instead, and I'll see you in that other video.